All right, so then this is shortly after that moment we just watched, where Cenk pats himself on the back for allowing people he could fire to talk to him about a topic about which he claims expertise.
But what we do on the Young Turks, guys, and the most important part of this entire conversation is, did we not know this was going to be a debate? We did. That's why we said it in the beginning. But we have these conversations, no matter who you agree with, we air out these opinions and then you get to make up your mind. I love that Jordan and Jules passionately defend their position, and that's how we do it on the Young Turks. We'll be back.
Because he knows what's better for the trans world than anybody else. A Wharton Business School graduate, former corporate lawyer who wrote essays about how there's so many boobies. It's like there's a different story that we're probably going to get into in a different episode. It's just I don't have time for it this time. But he's twice mentioned. I'll just give you a little preview. Is that he's mentioned being canceled from the Justice Democrats back in 2017 due to his past sexist writings, but he's brought that up voluntarily, which is it's usually not a topic he seems to want to talk about.
Hey guys, remember I got canceled. I got canceled by that same exact crowd at the Justice Democrats, etc. So don't tell me I was woke if you mean it that way.
And I think it fits in with their sort of new positioning of like reactionary. We're on the left, but we're not like those crazy activist lefties. We're not like those extreme lefties. So they're really like he and Anna have been sculpting themselves a posture within it, and then people are perceiving it as a drift to the right, more than a drift. And I wouldn't even say perceiving to imply that that's incorrect, but I think the important part of it is that it's not so much that they have to go really far right. It's just that they have to contrast themselves against what they want to label as the extremists. It's very like boilerplate. This is how we make ourselves look valid, is by judging the people who are actually trying to do things and make changes, because they can't shift towards labor in a way that's credible. All they can do is look for a term that captures something that they can then appeal to right-wingers with, and that word that he's come up with is populist, which has its own kind of mixed bag sort of history. But anyway, so this debate is somewhat relevant, the stuff I've been saying, somewhat relevant to like the path that the Democratic Party and that the left has to move in order to pull out of this tailspin. But he takes some questions from the audience, and then we get into talking about the Vanguard a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, you know what, last thing here. Sage and Kendall said, outside of the Vanguard's attacks, you really need to be more clear about the left. It sounds like you're attacking your viewers and you lump people in. Thank you for writing that in, because I do want to clarify it. Look, I don't care about...
He's not attacking the viewers. He would attack his own workers. He'd definitely like smear the integrity of his workers publicly, but he wants to be careful not to seem like he's attacking the viewers, backing up a little bit.
Look, I don't care about, Silly and Billy or whoever they are, right? But it's not just one group.
He was referring to Vanguard, Zac and Gavin. Their names are Zac and Gavin, James, Cenk, whatever your name is.
I get it. They literally do a gossip channel, and they think that they're leftists or something. They never talk about policy. They just talk about gossip the whole time.
Not true. Nope. You should see the video I did with them. We talk about lots of policies. We talk about your policies, your employment policies.
That was a very important point that you made that hit me like a ton of bricks. The fact that he was willing to be known as a union buster because otherwise he had to be known as the kind of guy that would exploit his part-time employees and use 1099 contractors and not give people health insurance and spit in the face of every value he'd ever espoused on camera as soon as it hit his bottom line, which is what every right-winger has ever said to his fucking face when they've debated. He basically validated every single one of his critics.
It is funny that he has this kind of like bubbling rage about the Vanguard. It makes me think I don't know if he has the time to watch the one I did, the Vanguard episode I was on, or a lot. I mean, who knows how much of it he sees. It's possible. I have no idea. It's hard to say that Cenk watches all my shit. He might, maybe, at certain moments he can't get enough of it, realizes how great a voice I have.
From what I could tell, but it doesn't matter. It's not about them. It's whenever we say anything that is 1% outside of orthodoxy, what you're not seeing, and thank you for asking for the clarification, is like dozens of online shows go, oh yes, we're gonna get into the Young Turks algorithm feed. Yes, we're gonna attack them and make money. And as they say, they go, oh, subscribe. Oh yeah, oh, the Young Turks are the worst. We're the best, we're the
Wait, he's calling someone out for telling their audience to subscribe? Backing it up a little bit here.
subscribe. Oh yeah, oh, the Young Turks are the worst.
Really? This guy, his whole thing is relentless begging for money from his audience.
We're the best, we're the true leftists, we're the purest. They disagree 2%. Anyone who disagrees 2% is a Nazi, et cetera, et cetera. So like everybody calls each other grifters. I'm super tired of it. But most important thing is, the reason why I'm saying the majority of Democratic voters agree with me is because we're not attacking the left, we're not attacking Democrats.
You attacked your own workers. You attacked regular ass working people that were just trying to get a slightly better life. I would have been happy if I got my pay bumped up from $21.63 to $21.77. That would have been a nice change in my life. We're not attacking
the left, we're not attacking Democrats.
No, but you attack employees. I would have been thrilled if I could have made $24 an hour in a pay bump from having to unionize in order to get health insurance at your shitty company.
We've been representing these folks for the entire 22 years. Nobody's fought for the left and Democrats more than us.
Do I have to say it again?
Just because you're 13 years old and you think, oh, you disagree with some orthodoxy you made up that no one voted on, and the Democratic voters and the left doesn't actually agree with you on, doesn't mean that we're attacking the left. And the one thing I need help with is, what do I call these folks?
So here's the thing that this is kind of what I was saying earlier. Like one of the words that they've been using a lot is identitarian left. I haven't looked super deep. I did look for it on Reddit. So you can feel free to judge me for not like, so I'm not going to say I'm an expert on it, but like apparently there's sort of two modes for that word. Originally it was kind of like I think it originated in Europe as sort of like a subculture movement about white identity, and they would call themselves the identitarians. And that happened a while ago. And then in more recent times, though, it's become a term that is sort of a evolution of identity politics sort of thing in order to like label the left. So the right uses it as a way of saying it defangs the original kind of framing or the original sort of sourcing of it being like a white power sort of like thing. Again, I could be like, I should look into a little bit closer. But then it gives them a word to attach to the left in order to say like people that care about identity politics. It's a more, essentially it's just a longer way of saying the word woke, the identitarian left. And I've been hearing him say that a bunch in this last month or two, following Anna's lead as she's sort of like leaning towards that quote unquote enlightened centrism.
I don't want to insult them, but I don't want people thinking that I'm against the left. I think they're against the great majority of the left. They're just pretending to be the.
So the Vanguard he means when he says there, that's not, what is he talking about? That they're against the majority of the left. Again, this guy's a union buster. This guy uses classification to deny workers benefits. And he sits around and acts like he knows what's good for people and what the left needs to do.
The most.
He lied to his audience.
Pure and hence the representatives of the left. But the polling shows that the great majority of Democrats do not agree with them. So they definitely don't represent the left.
You should definitely abandon marginalized people because the polling shows that it's looks like it's against them. Definitely don't stand on your principles or on any kind of convictions and just let the polls dictate wherever you go. I don't think there's necessarily a lack of, like, I get where someone's coming from in terms of like, it's what's practical. If only the Democrats would put on suits and ties, and then more people would take them seriously.
Definitely. So you guys tell me, I call them extreme leftists, I call them leftists. I don't know what to call them. What?
You got to find a word that'll appeal to centrists and right wingers. That's the tricky puzzle he's trying to solve with what do I call the left?
What?
All right, last thing. What do you want me to call you guys?
I don't know. You can do whatever. You can say whatever you want.
Identitarian left is so clunky.
What?
Extreme left seems like an insult. How about max left? I don't know. You tell me. What do you want to? Because we disagree on these things, right? So I gotta pee.
I gotta pee. You can come up with it.
All right, fuck it. We're not gonna come up with anything.
Okay. Well,
max left. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I don't think there is any need to distinguish.
There is because we don't agree.
I don't think there's any need to do that.
I disagree with defund the police. I need to call them something. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to say, tell me a respectful thing to call you. Max left? I don't know. But I disagree, and I'm allowed to disagree.
No, you are.
And by the way, again, I keep emphasizing the overwhelming majority of left-wing voters agree with me. So since that is true, I have to say you are not the moderate left. You are the not moderate left.
Okay, you
can
call people socialists if you want. I think that's
because he doesn't want to abandon saying he's on the left, but he wants to set it up so that he can contrast himself to those wackos that are really on the left, the ones that start unions, the ones that want health insurance for full-time work, the ones who want to protect marginalized groups and let them and trust them and allow them to feel safe in this world.
What do they call themselves? I mean, so if they're claiming they're the left, that is hilarious and not within any stretch of the imagination and not according to any poll or any other data. So you pick whatever title you like and I'll call you that. Fringe left, extreme left, radical left, leftist, bozos, whatever you want.
Bozos.
But I'm not.
We want the bozo left.
I'm not going to say you're the left because you're not even close to the left. Young Turks.
So the union busting left is now policing what people are allowed to call left.
But I'm not going to say you're the left because you're not even close to the left.
Nope, they're not close to the left. Nope, not Silly and Billy over there on the Vanguard. that's rapidly gathering a nice audience of people who are very engaged in their content and want to hear their opinions. Definitely not the left. This whole conversation is honestly so stupid. The calling, like labeling these terms. That's all very online brain shit. I mean, I'm trapped in
Young
it too.
Turks.
Fast forward here.
All right, back on TYT. Cenk, Jordan, and Jules. Jordan, next story.
We're on break.
Oh, we're on social? Oh, bruh.
We shook him, Jules. We shook him.
Bruh? Who talks like that? What the fuck? It's bro.
Because we just did comments for 3 segments in a row. That's why. All right, anyways. So good news. More of your comments. Okay. Ozzy Carr writes in on Super Chat. Cenk, I think you're confusing the far left for a conservative pretending to be a far left. Look, guys. Again,
Or a conservative pretending to be a progressive.
I don't want to keep getting into the same thing. But
Get
if
into
I
it.
was a Republican, I would plant shows like.
We're backing up here. This is interesting.
But if I was a Republican, I would plant shows like Vanguard or whoever the hell they are. And
I like that he has to act like he doesn't know their name. I really find that so annoying. Just say their fucking name. Don't be a little bitch. That's the same thing that people do when they mispronounce someone's name on purpose. People do that all the time with Cenk. Cenk, junk, chunk yogurt. You get a lot of those. Just say their fucking name. Show some respect to your audience.
Vanguard or whoever the hell they are, and the Bozo 1 and Bozo 2, right? So I would plant them, and I would say, oh, now what you should do is you should tell everyone on your side that if they don't agree with the single most extreme position, that they're all Nazis. So you alienate and start a giant war within Democrats and a giant war within the left and divide each other.
Yes, the Vanguard has that power. 58,000 YouTube subscribers. 2 guys from Kansas City spewing their lefty stuff who were longtime fans of TYT. I think Gavin, that's the long-haired hippie. He was more into TYT more than Zac was. But these are two, like, they do know stuff that I'm like, how the fuck, like, aren't they too young? Like, but then they've told stories of like they were like 5th graders talking about politics and stuff. So are they as academically up to speed on all the stuff? No, of course not. Neither am I. Neither are a lot of Americans. I think that's why they have an appeal. But they're able to like break these topics down, and have interesting conversations and stuff. And I think Cenk is, people, I'm not saying that this is a rivalry per se, but I would much rather take some advice from Zac or Gavin than this guy. You kidding me?
And profit off of it. That'll be great. And then,
so he's saying that they're useful to the right, that they're being that if he was a Republican, he would plant the Vanguard
and divide each other, and
because they can divide us and then also make money What the fuck has TYT done for the progressive movement? You guys produced right-wingers as if it's someone fed Mogwai after midnight. You got Jimmy Dore, you got Dave Rubin. Anna's veering straight towards the center. I think she's going to hold on to some leftist nuance, but that's important. That's a big way to maintain that usefulness. You can't just go all the way. Cenk is clearly doing it as well, affirming right-wing narratives, union busting. Gavin made the point, which I played on a couple episodes back, about how much Cenk's union busting actually contributed to the right-wing narrative that unions don't work and that you can't do unions.
Again, even if you just remove everyone that we know, yourself, personalities, whatever, what happened when this story went public and people found out that TYT tried to bust their union, that Cenk was an attempted union buster? Guess what happened, man? It was really depressing. A bunch of freaking right-wing outlets like the Daily Wire and stuff like that. What did they do? They published articles saying, see, look, even the quote-unquote progressives are admitting unions aren't serious. They're not good for business. That's why Cenk, as a business owner, tried to bust his union. See, proof. Even the left is full of shit. And that's terrible for the left. That's terrible for the left, because we know that Cenk and Anna aren't real lefties. We know that they don't give a shit about their workers. We know they don't give a shit about workers' rights. Your story is proof of that. But a lot of people out there, to them, they do think of Cenk and Anna as being what an actual progressive looks like. They think of them as being the furthest left person out there in the Overton window of American discussion, right? So when they saw those articles, when they saw those headlines, and they see people like Ben Shapiro saying, see, we told you, unions aren't serious. Even TYT tried to bust theirs because they know how bad it is for business.
We begin at this hour with a piece of delicious news. Very, very delicious. So, Cenk Uygur is the founder of a group called the Young Turks, according to the Huffington Post. Earlier that day, a Twitter handle claiming to represent Young Turks employees had announced on the social media platform their intention to form a union. In the staff meeting, the network's co-founder and influential host, Cenk Uygur, urged employees not to do so, arguing that a union does not belong at a small independent outlet like the Young Turks, according to two workers who were present. He said if there had been a union at the network, it would not have grown the way it has. Oh my God. Oh, that's delicious. That's some solid stuff. Just straight into my veins, man. Straight into the veins. I'm going to mainline this stuff. His talk, at times emotional, the staffer said, with Uygur throwing his papers to the ground at one point and chastising an employee. Seemed to contradict the progressive worker-first ethos that the Young Turks broadcast to its millions of lefty followers. Jack Gerard, acting as the company's chief operating officer as Uygur runs for Congress, told the staff they were not discouraging unionization. The reality is we're in a precarious position, said Uygur. So he's saying, I, the employer, am not out to screw my employees. I'm here to run a successful business, and that means you can't unionize against me because that's going to lead to additional costs, and then I may have to fire some people. But everybody else should unionize, and if you don't unionize, it's because you're corrupt and evil. Cenk Uygur. Uygur said he was caught off guard by the union effort that appeared on Twitter the day of the meeting, and that it was so early in the process he wasn't sure if it was real or if he was being punked. He acknowledged that he threw papers in the meeting and that he reprimanded an employee whom he believed to be smiling. According to staffers, Uygur said it would be funny later, and an ominous statement they found unsettling. He told Huffington Post it wasn't meant to be a threat. Welcome to being an employer, Cenk Uygur. Welcome to the business world, Cenk Uygur. Welcome to capitalism, Cenk Uygur, where you're trying to run a successful business. And it turns out that bullcrap, like unionizing employees who demand things that are not sustainable, will wreck your business. But he's supporting Bernie, who wants to forcibly unionize half the American workforce. It's unbelievable and wonderful. As the union spat became more public, Uygur suggested on Twitter that the union campaign was politically motivated by the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, the union trying to organize TYT. They've already endorsed Smith in the race. But staffers say, no. We've been trying to unionize for 2 years. Unbelievable. It's just spectacular. He says, at the end of the day, my opinion on it is irrelevant. It's the employees who get to decide and who should decide. So he's saying they should decide, but also I'm going to tell them that if they decide and we go under, then it's their fault. Just spectacular. Just spectacular. And well earned.
Have you been following the Young Turks saga and Cenk's vehement opposition to unions in the enterprise? Also, How soon did you have to change your pants from pissing yourself laughing at this story? Cenk Uygur is not just like anti-specific. He's anti-union in the Young Turks, period, across the board. And this may be part, by the way, of a political attack against him because he's running for office. I get that. But I don't care. I really don't care.
It's perfect.
Some context before we get to some clips. This should be a moment of glee for the Young Turks. The Young Turks, specifically Cenk, considering their rhetoric on unions and corporations for, I guess not decades, but a decade, they should be thrilled.
Workers want to unionize. They want to say, hey, maybe we'll have more leverage if we all unite. By ourselves, they're just going to fire us and get somebody else to fill the job. But if we're united together, well, that's in a way part of the marketplace where we then use our collective power. The reason unions make sense, especially in very large corporations, is because you have uneven power. Any one worker has very, very little power against a giant corporation. There's 5,000 workers.
I love how he just picks a number that he thinks he won't cross over. Like, by the way, I want to be clear. I defend Cenk Uygur's right to not have his employees unionize. Of course. I should never. But if people here unionize, you won't actually be fired, but come on, don't show up to work the next day. According to the Huffington Post, this just came out today. In a tense meeting with employees, Cenk Uygur argued that a union doesn't belong at a small news network struggling to make profits. He said that if there had been a union at the network, it would not have grown the way it has. His talk was at times emotional, the staffer said, with Uygur throwing his papers to the ground at one point and chastising an employee. Yes, I understand, but he is just arguing for himself what he has been railing against as a macroeconomic argument from the right for decades. People on the right say, listen, if a business that is trying to grow is being overtaxed, overregulated, if you have workers who have unrealistic demands with a union, and unions obviously held a lot of sway in the Midwest to the point where they're no longer competitive, like we've talked about the educational sector's unions, we've talked about the SEIU, we've talked about the United Auto Workers Union. He is basically Cenk Uygur, in defending himself from his workers unionizing, you could read this quote and attribute it to Milton Friedman. He's borderline making an anti-union video for PragerU. That's what you can see coming down the pike.
It's believable.
It's just such a bad look for the left, and it blows my mind. It kills me that Cenk couldn't have just said, you know what? I will sacrifice a couple extra dollars to make this fucking point, to live our values, to walk the walk that we talk, and to actually set an example. Hey, look, a progressive company can not just survive, but flourish while taking care of its workers. A progressive company can take care of the people that make this show possible, pay them properly, compensate them, and not only will we survive, but it'll actually make the show better. We all know that when workers are happy somewhere, they're going to work harder. They're going to, care more about doing a good job for the people that they're working for. This all seems obvious to me, and it's just such a missed opportunity that Cenk and TYT had to go the way that they did. And of course, people like you get caught up in it, and now you're having to deal with this all these years later. It's really a messed up situation, man.
Oh, welcome to the Republican Party, Cenk Uygur.
It is very damaging to the labor movement. If you're a plant, do you think you'd pick me? I don't know, maybe like a guy who went to Columbia Law School, went to Wharton School for Vampires, the same fancy lad finishing academy that Elon Musk went to, that Donald Trump went to. Go to the Wharton School of Business and scroll. This is in the film. Scroll the list of CEOs. There's just a big list of ghouls. I don't know. Maybe then you get like funding from right wingers, Buddy Roemer to start out with, and then maybe some other like Republican billionaire types that are Democrat partisans for Hillary, the Katzenberg group and the other ones. There was multiple outfits that were kind of linked together with that. What good for the left has TYT done? I could answer that. I think that they've provided media training or media access to a lot of candidates over the years that wouldn't have otherwise gotten it. I think it's a good thing. I think it's also a good outlet for finding some kind of talent to come up with. I'm not sure I'm impressed with Cenk's selection so far. Emma Vigeland coming out of TYT through Rebel HQ way back in the day. I think that TYT has actually also helped pull people from their sort of center or just sort of liberal brain towards some ideas of progressivism. I'm not saying it's a total wash, but the idea that like Zac and Gavin is literally as much of a plant as like some kind of operation to destroy the left because of whatever straw manning kind of conception he's coming up with. It's nonsense. It's just straight up fucking nonsense.
Profit off of it, that'll be great. And then make it seem like all of the left isn't Medicare for all, isn't all of your popular positions.
Cenk doesn't provide health insurance to people who work for him full time. He'll use classification to avoid that.
Medicare for all.
So he's not even for Medicare for all his workers. So give me a fucking break.
Isn't all of your popular positions, it's only the most extreme position. Like, you know what? One day maybe, if we ever get enough power, wealth, whatever it is that the bad guys have.
Dude, keep begging Elon Musk to buy MSNBC and put you in charge. That'll do nicely for you.
I'll try it with the Republicans. I'll go to their most extreme position, and I bet there's guys who would defend the most extreme position, and because it's almost a false flag operation. It isn't, but it almost feels like it. They have no, in my opinion, they have no idea how much they're helping the Republicans.
It's total projection.
I don't know a single Republican who isn't like, yes, these leftists, they're like manna from heaven. They're driving away all of these normies away from the Democratic Party, away from the left, and they're getting them confused and thinking that Medicare for all is unpopular. How did we get this lucky?
Where is that coming from? Well, that doesn't, what? I don't even know how much that topic comes up on Vanguard. I mean, they're for Medicare for all. They're for single universal health care. Like, where would that come from?
Them confused and thinking
that I don't know how you could end up confused about Medicare for all because you watch. This is just, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
How did we get this lucky? Because they're saying this is the progressive position. Okay, anyway.
I'm such a broken record. It's just so amazing that he's calling someone out for what he calls faux, he's doing the air quotes for faux progressivism. Cenk is a union-busting capitalist who lied to his audience about why his workers organized so that they wouldn't learn his abusive employment practices. And he's the one who's policing people on whether they're progressive enough or not, or too progressive anyway. Too extreme. They've got the extreme that's pissing off the Republicans. This is ridiculous.
Okay, anyway. Woman AF says, hey boys, I've heard a lot of conservative leaning independents believing that she was pushing for taxpayer funded surgery for trans illegal immigrants. That message got through hard, true or not. But by the way, it was true. That's not her position anymore, but that was her position. The Flying Hambone wrote in, 40% of Americans hold crypto, would love TYT to point out the good ones in the space like Charles Hoskinson. I hate that Trump is going to be leading this. Look, I don't know much about crypto to begin with, but.
Okay, crypto, yeah. So he's been on Twitter trying to get Elon's attention, and Elon asked him, he's offering to, I don't know why I was going to I marked this to talk about it, but he's trying to get Elon to give him some attention for how to get rid of or how to cut the military budget, and it just is nonsense. And then, yeah, what I referred to earlier was Cenk had some tweet saying like, what if the Young Turks owned MSNBC? And this is after Elon had patted him on the head, and you could just tell he's like clearly trying to indicate that he would be an adequate manager of MSNBC if the world's wealthiest man to ever exist bought him his own news company. That's not what he said outright, but that's the implication that I read into it. So okay, well, there you go. Good job not